Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to What You Want, and thanks for logging on. Today, we're looking at the Harry Winston Z8 Dual Time, 44 millimeters in brushed Zalium. You can see this Harry Winston Z8 on our website, whatyouwant.com. Purchase it if you like. And if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, What You Want Inc. Now, this is an extraordinary watch from Harry Winston that runs in the Project Z line, a sort of parallel to the well-known Opus series of exceptional high horology watches. The Project Z watches are more durable. They're more compatible with daily use, and quite frankly, they represent some of the most avant-garde of the class of oversized sports watches. Let's talk a little bit about what that means. On my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference. Now you can see 44 millimeters, but possibly the largest 44 you're likely to encounter. It's not the thickness of the watch. At just under 12 millimeters thick, this one's really no thicker than your conventional 6-digit reference Supercase Rolex Submariner. But what I want to emphasize is that at 53 millimeters lug to lug, the story's only starting, because it does have a beautifully built natural vulcanized rubber conforming strap with contoured end pieces that firmly planted against the flanks of the case. The virtual diameter here, the virtual size from span to span extremity, is actually about 63-64 millimeters. And by that, I mean the watch wants to flare a little bit at the junction of strap and lug. You can see how it doesn't pull straight down. This watch, because of the visual mass of the tapered and integrated strap, wears and looks far larger than 44 millimeters. I will say, however, that the lightness of Zalium means that once the watch is on the wrist, it's both secure and lightweight. It doesn't have a lot of inertia that causes it to want to shift, change position, or otherwise throw your forearm off course. So it is very light. It has a lightness that's comparable to something along the lines of titanium. I also want to emphasize that everything that touches the wrist is of the highest quality. The vulcanized rubber strap is an exquisite one, and I want to also focus on the fact that on its underside, it features a wonderful satin finish with a molded in, let me see if I can show you that on the upper portion of the strap, but a molded in concave channel. And what this channel allows the strap to do is give your wrist a little bit of breathing room underneath. When it's locked down, moisture builds up, sweat builds up. This gives you a relief channel that will allow that to channel out of the strap rather than pinning it against your skin. But the look of this watch is defined above and beyond by the case and the dial. You can see how the watch reads all of a piece, almost like a bracelet watch, but with a chromatic contrast, changing from this sort of pyramid clou de Paris cut of the rubber strap to the rounded, sculpted, almost chiseled lines of the case. Zalium is a hybrid alloy that is probably closest to titanium in terms of its appearance, its luster, and its mass on the wrist, but the dial itself is like nothing else, immensely differentiated by different colors, finishes, and planes of depth. This is what the Project Z series has sort of called its calling card from the beginning. Now, this dual time example gives you a lot to behold. Let's start with the basics. 2 time zones. What you're looking at here is your reference time. So this is the remote time zone that you are following as you travel the world. There is an AM/PM indicator located right underneath my thumb, and it's conventional night-day rotating disc. So that gives you your frame of reference for the time on that dial. Now what we have here is your local time. The local time is actually a retrograde, so it spans a 12-hour scale before jumping back to the index at 0, and there is a index right here that will clarify the local time further by indicating the individual hour. Now the date is hidden at roughly where 4:30 would be on a conventional dial, but I don't want to use conventional dial terminology or topography to describe this one, which is very fragmented in its look, feel, and function. But you can see the date right there. It's tied to the local time retrograde indication. The best way to explain this dial is to unscrew the crown. It is a screw-down crown, 100-meter water-resistant, that is 330-foot water-resistant case. And once I've unscrewed the crown, I can do a better job of explaining how this retrograde system works. Now, as soon as you pull the crown, you can see it resets the retrograde to the index at 12. So I have that index at 12 more or less zeroed, and I'm going to focus on this inner rotating wheel, and I'm going to set it ahead to 6 o'clock. Now, once I've set it ahead to 6 o'clock, I continue to read my minutes off that reference time. I push the crown back in. Now, this retrograding hand jumps to the indicated hour. So I effectively set my hour locally on this reference wheel at center, and then I read it on the reference time retrograde scale. It is that simple, and yes, that is a constant seconds subdial that you're looking at right there. What's not simple is the variety of color and finish. We have silver, we have black, we have blued screws, not on the movement as you'll see, but integrated into the reference time subdial. You see there are skeletonized elements over the date wheel, which is hiding just below the base of the blackened, sort of a matte satin blackened portion of the dial. You can see the aperture in the metallic satin portion of the dial showing the date. Skeletonized, it almost looks like a duplicate of the skeletonized winding rotor, almost like its shadow on the dial. You can see that there's a central skeletonized grid on the Harry Winston blazon reference time or home time subdial, that there's a chapter ring inside that metallic with a minute scale gradiated. You can see that there's a sort of inverse hobnail pattern to this disc just below the reference time and just inboard of the skeletonized track of the date wheel, far inboard of the scale of the local time. You can see that there's this layer, almost a set of crescent layers, from the scale to the inner chapter ring to the skeletonized portion of the date wheel to that metallic hobnail or inverted clou de Paris. There's a lot going on here with a spider's web type motif surrounding the home time. I don't know how to describe this watch other than eclectic. Now, the Project Z series debuted for 2004 by none other than Max Bousser of MB&F, before MB&F, has always played on the basic style established by Emmanuel Guite. Yes, the boy wonder who designed the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore back in 1993. His career continued with this long-running Harry Winston Z case form, and like the dial, it's highly articulated with individual elements sharply defined and standing out in stark relief from the basic form. Although nominally a conventional round watch, you can see that the detailing, which actually evokes his father's pioneering work for Harry Winston in the late 80s, sets this one apart from conventional round watches. And finishing up on the front and ergonomic aspects of the watch, there is a wonderfully delicate looking stainless steel clasp, far burlier than Zalium in heft and substance. This one is pared down to the point that when closed, it almost looks like a conventional pen buckle when on the strap. And you can see how it's highly articulated so that when you actually do buckle it, it only has the profile of a conventional pin buckle, not the mass of a double deployant twin trigger actuated clasp. And of course, with Harry Winston signage and beautiful brushed finish and multiple finished facets, it's up to the standard of the rest of this Project Z. Now, the Z8 is more than just a pretty face. It's an immensely interesting movement. Right here, you're looking at the Harry Winston caliber 3502 free-sprung anti-magnetic silicon hairspring on a free-sprung balance, I should say. It's very shock resistant. Now, it uses the latest technology that's been adapted by Swatch Group's flagship brand, Blancpain. Just as Blancpain has taken the basic Frédéric Piguet 1150, stepped it up from 3 to 4 hertz, improved it from a mobile regulating index to free sprung, and upgraded the metallic hairspring to silicon, so have all of those upgrades been included in the Harry Winston Z8. What you will find here that you will not find on the Blancpain is a unique Harry Winston form of finishing, and I'll show you what I mean. First, there's this highly skeletonized white gold winding mass. Second, there's a sort of radiating Côte de Genève that starts at the balance and then radiates almost like ripples on a lake outward over the bridges of the movement from that fixed point. You can see it in great detail in the light of my light box here, and it really does set this finish apart from anything in the Jacques-Drouot or Blancpain catalog. Moreover, all of the standard high-end elements of valet de jeu finish are here. Beautiful anglage on every bridge, graining on the wheels of the train as well as the mainspring barrels, both of them, polished screw heads with chamfered slots, very beautiful, distinctive too, not just of Frédéric Piguet, but of Frédéric Piguet's exclusive treatment of the Harry Winston movements. And of course, having anti-magnetic silicon and a free-sprung balance operating at a modern now 28,800 vibrations per hour, this watch does have a little bit more of the hale and hearty traits of a sports watch than prior FPGA-powered complications. You can see this outstanding, innovative, and rare 1 of 300-piece limited edition Harry Winston Project Z8 Dual Time on our website, watchyouwant.com.